Good afternoon, everyone. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Atlanta City Council's Finance and Executive Committee. I'm the chair, Howard Shook. The vice chair is also here, Alex Wan. We're joined by a bunch of empty seats, which hopefully will fill up soon, as we have a massive agenda that we would really hate to tackle on Monday. So I cannot call the meeting to order, but I can and will commence with public comment, and then we will launch into the Invest Atlanta quarterly report if they're ready. Prophet Curtis Martin Hairston, if you're here, you're up. Yeah.
I didn't know y'all was gonna come up with this quick. I didn't anticipate. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm ready if y'all are.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. For one, God is good. Thank God for everybody here. In Jesus' name, again, we want to discuss homelessness, as always, in Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County, DeKalb County. I want to talk about, again, I heard that Sheila Jones is the commissioner over the Donnelly Howard office. That office needs some help. Again, I'm not doing stuff just to be doing stuff. Okay, I'm approved for food stamps, and I know this is live. This goes live, so it's not so much. I haven't got a food stamp card since July, but I'm approved for it. See, these are the type of things that we're talking about what go on in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, I'm gonna jump from there to an off-duty cop kills a boy at a cop party. So y'all don't see the connection in that. I do. See, as a prophet, I see that happening. See, and I said that 3 years ago, would a black cop kill a black boy in Atlanta, Georgia? And they asked me that. They really asked me that. And I really said, yes, it would. But see, you don't understand it. Now, we just had a riot. How many years? Not that many years ago. But you don't see the other riot, but I do. So I'm trying to prevent another riot. So I don't want to see another riot. But the way y'all going, it's going to be another riot. But what y'all doing, how this city is going and county is going, Sheriff Labatt needs to go. You got homeless people dying on your streets. You got drug addicts everywhere and drug dealers everywhere, and some of them are CVS and Walgreens as well. You can't continue to run this city the way it's being ran. And I don't want to sound angry because I'm not angry, because an angry man can't fight. But I'm saying, you have to understand that people are living in divers. You got elderly people calling me, telling me they're scared in their apartments. But they don't want to walk outside. They got security at the building, but they calling people like me to say that they're scared. If you got a woman that's 65, 70 years old, and she feels threatened in her own house, see, that's the issue. So those are the issues that we're talking about. It's not, I don't come down here to throw shade, because I don't hate no one. And I do mean no one. I don't hate no one. Now, I'm saying that we have to understand these things. People are in diverse situations. You got 19 folk froze to death in Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County, DeKalb County. 2 people froze to death outside of Gateway. I'm gonna let that.
All right, thank you. That concludes our public comment for today. While awaiting a quorum, if Invest Atlanta is ready, we're ready for your quarterly update. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Luisa Clemente, proud president and CEO at Invest Atlanta. I will present today. Well, before I start, I do just want to thank your amazing team over on to my right. I had a minor change last minute, totally our fault, and they saved the day. So I just want to call them out. Thank you. I'm going to make two presentations, one presentation with two programs today. I'm not going to go through the TAD, being respectful of your time. I put it in the appendix, but I am available if you have questions, and I'll go through them at CDHS as well. So just trying to be appreciative of your time. First program we're going to go through very quickly is the City of Atlanta Recovery Fund for Small Business. As you recall, this City Council and the mayors asked Invest Atlanta to mobilize quite quickly and create a program that we had never done before, and this was to help businesses during the disruption of water service. So we were building the plane and flying it at the same time, and let me tell you how we did. So there were two parts of the Boyle Advisory, two big community parts of the city that were impacted. And you see the larger one where the Boyle Advisory was placed on May 31st, and then the smaller blue one on June 3rd. In the biggest amount of businesses impacted, there were about 6,960 businesses within that green yellowish area that were impacted. What we knew, though, is of the 6,000 that there were you guys had asked us to target specific companies and businesses. So we really were those that had the highest impact. So if you were a lawyer or an architect firm or a marketing PR firm, you probably, not necessarily everyone, but most of them could go home and continue work, where restaurants, coffee shops, daycare centers really could not open up for business because of the water. So those was where we really focused and drilled down on. So just a quick reminder, City Council voted June 17th. That same night we held our first webinar where we started to talk to businesses about what the program was and how to apply. Then Invest Atlanta, therefore, very quickly voted on June 20th at the Invest Atlanta board. And we started off and started to implement the program. Applications opened June 24th, and the applications closed on July 8th. Again, moving very quickly to try to ensure that we got the information out and we were being responsive. What we learned from our ARC and COVID days is the best way to get the word out is to pay for social media. We asked them after, how did you hear about us? Both COVID, CARES Act, and ARP, and majority of the responses back were social media. So that's what we did. We actually paid for social media. I also like to thank the press or anyone who's listening in the press community. We had about 4 to 5 stories 4 interviews and more stories, both on radio and TV, and that really helped. We were able to reach over 354,000 people, 1.8 billion people in terms of the media coverage. So we had the most coverage that we had seen in a long time to really get the word out about this program. So this was the results. We received 891 started applications. So you're going to see me talk and break down a little bit of what we were able to do and how many applications we ended up. But this gives you a sense of where the applications came, both in the city, out of the city, in the water advisory area, and those without the Boyle advisory. So we got the word out, and a lot of people applied, as you can see, from all different parts of the city. So if we break it down from that 891 total applications started, then it starts the number starts to focus in a little bit more. So of the 891, don't want to lose you, those are applications started, 355 were not completed. And we went back and we're going to do some more to try to understand why they weren't completed. But some of the questions were, we really wanted you to show some sort of impact or as a result of the loss of water. So we are suspecting that some of those that didn't complete realized, well, yes, it made me go home and work, but there really was no economic impact to my business, which was what we were trying to really get at. So of the 536 applications that were both started and submitted, 57 of those were not eligible. And we've broken down that 57. 4 were outside of the Boyle advisory, 11 were home-based businesses, and 42 had missing documentation and or had their license maybe after the Boyle advisory happened. So made sure that we were trying to adhere to the purpose of this program. This slide gives you just a breakdown of a little bit of a sense. And what's exciting to me here is that you'll see that the majority of our applications really did come from those sectors that we really did target. If you look at full restaurants, limited restaurants, to us limited restaurants are like coffee shops that don't have a full out blown menu, but do offer food, beauty salons, snacks, non-alcoholic, and daycare centers. So really the cross spectrum. And in fact, we did an analysis. If you started at the 6,000 businesses in this area, about 1,200 were in those priority NAICS codes. So if you look at then those that actually started an application, 44% were right in the NAICS codes. So we were pretty happy that we got to the majority of the businesses that we were trying to get to and get to have this benefit. Now, this is a living document. It changes every day, if not almost every hour, and we use this to update exactly where we are. There's a couple things that I will just highlight for you is that as of today, checks have gone out in the total amount deployed. $2.5 million has gone out of the 7.5 that you've awarded. The rest of the funds are being worked through. We are trying to ensure that we get that money out. We are still needing businesses to send some sort of docs. If anybody's listened to me and they haven't submitted your documents, please do so as soon as possible. But even with the businesses that we are working with to get them through the process, we think that we will be somewhere around $2 million over what we need. And so at this point, our thought is to return, once we close this out, we would like to completely close out the program October 31st. We will send back to Department of Watershed we think approximately $2 million back that we were not able to deploy, or we just didn't have options. I will let you know that it is our work and focus to get as much of the funds out as we can. We are reaching out to businesses. What does that mean? And I want to clarify. That means our system, your application gets submitted on our system. First, we task you, hey, we need this document. Where is it? Can you get it to us ASAP? We don't send one. Every average business is receiving anywhere from 4 to 5 tasks if you still see them on the first part of application breakdown. So we are working through those. We called every single business that required us, that didn't turn everything in, just to ensure. And we've emailed every single business. So we are doing everything we can to try to get them all through, but we do require that they send in all the documentation for us to proceed. I would be remiss if I did not kind of put in how much time this has taken the Invest Atlanta team. We've spent over 3,800 hours. That's 6 full-time people for 4 months working on this program. And this was just above and beyond. So we had Invest Atlanta staff. If you see that picture on the right, that was us coming in on a Saturday to review applications because we were trying to move so fast. If we had gotten temporary employees, by the time I train them, get them security tech, get them a laptop, it would take me too long. So we asked the Invest Atlanta team to lean in, and we all came in on a Saturday and Sunday and started those reviews. And so this really is the legal, finance, and economic development team leaning in. And for those that are on the Invest Atlanta team, I thank them for their extra work because, at Invest Atlanta, we say, you do good work, you get more good work. They still had to do their regular day job. So what that meant is I want to also highlight, we were moving as fast as we can, but we wanted to ensure that the checks and balances were there. So once the application comes in, a processor first reviews, then it got reviewed by a manager review, and then it got reviewed by a scoring. And there were really limited scoring, but this was more double checking on the paperwork that had to be submitted and verifying. Then it actually goes to a legal team review. They reviewed it. The legal team has been working really a lot on after 5, I know, because I signed those documents, and over the weekend. And then final approval comes to us. and then we do one more review at finance before that check actually gets issued. So just know there's a lot of checks and balances that we put in place. So it really is trying to move people through as fastly as possible. We were, since, if you look at when we got the approval to when we issued that first check, it was about 2 months, the first individual. So what we first did is we did a first look. Everybody had all their clean, they were just had all their documents. Typically, there were people who had dealt with us before. Those went through very quickly. It's now those that hadn't dealt with us before that we're working through, but checks have gone out the door. So I just highlight why we do what we do, and honestly, thank you, because this, I see my job as an honor, is that, you know, when we work with our businesses every day and they say that, you know, they were excited to receive these funds and that employees receive this fund, and that was what's so exciting, is not only did our businesses receive the funds, but our employees actually received the funds, that it really did make a difference. And so I want to thank you, City Council and the Mayor, for their leadership. I've had colleagues across the nation call me about, hey, how did you guys do this program so quickly? And so I've shared with them our guidelines, but they really are looking to Atlanta as a leader as how you react in these type of situations. So we didn't take that for just the City Council. I actually applied, and I want you to know that we are as committed to apply for any pot of money that's out there. So we actually applied for the Small Business Economic Injury Disaster Loan Fund. They actually could come in as well. We applied and received it, and as a result, we gave them free space. They came in, operated, and helped our businesses. So they've received. They've seen over 18 businesses and have received 13 loan applications. So again, going out and after every dollar we possibly can to help support our businesses. The second update I want to make sure I share is the business association. This council asked us to support our business associations with $10,000. So we've deployed all but one of those to different parts of the city. And they're doing a range of things, from resources to small business, to professional development, to technical assistance, to really help businesses locally. And this is going to be an amazing program that we're going to continue to leverage, especially now that World Cup is coming. These associations are on the ground and can help us get to the businesses in the city and throughout the city to get the word out about different World Cup opportunities. So we're excited about the relationship we've made and the infrastructure we've been able to create as a result of your allocation and the mayor's vision to get this program up and running. So as a result, to date, this number will continue to change. They have served over 500 businesses, and this just gives you the breakdown of businesses that they've served in terms of women and minority-owned businesses. But I will tell you, in my opinion, this has been a very successful program in terms of, and really for low cost to the city. So look forward to seeing that, and I will take any questions you may have.
We've been joined by Mr. Winston and Ms. Collier Overstreet, who have provided us with a quorum. Before we take questions, I will therefore move adoption of the agenda. Second. Second by Juan. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open.
Right, the ayes have it. You've all carefully studied the meetings. Minutes of the prior meeting. I'll move their adoption. Second. Second by Juan. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed.
Minutes have been adopted. Mr. Winston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Dr. Clementish and your team for all your hard work on this. I know it's been a lot of work and a lot of hours, as you noted. Looks like you have this information, but I wanted to see if we could request receiving the applicants of the businesses by district. I'm just thinking, God forbid, we get in this situation again, that we can communicate with them, you know, having them sign up for Notify ATL, just to kind of be more proactive, because one of the main things that I feel like I dealt with in my districts was a lot of businesses didn't know how to receive information when we ran into this issue. So we'd love to just have that communication with them.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Juan.
Thank you. This was great information. I mean, and kudos to your team for mobilizing so quickly and really deploying the resources in an effective and meaningful way to those that needed it most. I'd be curious, have y'all looked at, well, first of all, what the average, I don't know that I saw it in here, but what the average size grant was, and then that dollar amount versus what the businesses kind of, even if it's broken down to their daily receipts or monthly receipts, just so that we have an idea of the impact. I think it would, if we knew the percentage of what their revenues would be, we'd be able to really feel, wow, this made a difference.
Okay.
And really helped bridge a little bit of the pain during this difficult period. I also want to commend y'all on the business outreach piece. I know that y'all have been working very closely with a couple of business associations in my district, and that they have actually been able to leverage that money even further. But I think having the credibility and really the vetting process that y'all go through, that rigor, helps them as well. It helps both them grow and evolve as an association, but also, like I said, enables them to go out with your reputation and say, hey, we've kind of got the backing of the city and we're legit. So I want to commend you on that as well. So thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I'll just add one thing that's important is we ask for like Secretary of State certification, right? We want to see that. And there's some businesses that, or bylaws, and they're, why do I have to do that? They don't have their bylaws in place. But as a result, once we tell them, look, the reality is bylaws can tell us who can sign for your organization, because this prevents maybe an employee to have submitted an application and you never know. And this sets them up ready so that they could then go to the banks and ARP or the next CARES Act. So this kind of helping to foment them, to get them is crucial. So agree with you.
Yeah, I want to add my kudos. Obviously, this was a tremendous amount of administrative work to process what must have been just a flood of a blizzard of paperwork. And you had to deal with a lot of, I'm sure, omissions and faults and flaws and stuff that was left out, which makes your efforts to go back and make sure, they don't go away and you don't lose touch, absolutely even more heroic. So you've never really done anything like this before. So I'm kind of curious as to what were your biggest surprises about embarking on a venture like this?
Well, I will tell you that the ARP and the CARES Act set us up because we had some experience, but what we did here different is we really tried to make it easier. So there were clear lessons learned that we had, and so we were able to limit how many documents we asked for and just said, this is the minimum to ensure that it's legal, that the finance, and that at the end of the day, I could tell you that the funds are going to the business and the business is aware it's going to them. And then we have a component in the back end. So the complete new one is the employees. So we're now trying to work to ensure that we have verification that the money does really hit the employees. So it really is a balance between ensuring that the program is offered in a fast way, but also in a way that's balanced and that its intention is fulfilled.
All right. Well, I mean, it was a disaster that, everyone had to deal with, and sometimes, that's just an opportunity to see who steps up and who comes forward. And, that's y'all. So we appreciate and recognize that.
Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else, let's move on to our communications. We only have one, but it's an important one. 24C 5122 is a communication from Mayor Andre Dickens appointing Ms. LaShondra Butler Burks to serve as COO of the City of Atlanta. And there she is. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to move approval just for discussion purposes. Second by Juan. All right, now it's discussion time. So your impressive bio is in front of us.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious to know, and you've been here, you're from around here. Now that you have the full-time job, kind of what are your priorities?
Sure. And thank you, Council Member and Chair Shook, and to the other members of the Finance Executive Committee. Just before I answer that question, if I could, just a few things. One, I want to say thanks for the opportunity to even come before you today to express my humility and excitement for Mayor Dickens' appointment for me as the Chief Operating Officer for this city. A city that I was born in, a city where I was educated, a city where I have chosen to continue to live and build my family. And just some of my background, I would never forget when I finished college, my parents, who were very active in city government, did everything with Councilman C.T. Martin. He told me, everybody should have an experience in city government. And so I applied after college. I started out as a clerk, a grade 7, the lowest grade in city government, where I worked at what was then called motor transport. It is now called fleet services. I literally entered tickets for trucks that were coming in to be serviced at motor transport. And here I am 29 years later. I've worked in 6 departments in this city government. Motor transport, as I mentioned, contract compliance, human resources, mayor's communications office, parks and recreation, and the mayor's office. I've also served, just like you are serving now, as an elected member of the Atlanta School Board for 9 years, 4 of those in which I was chair of the school board. Served on the Invest Atlanta Board, a founding member of the Beltline Board. And all of my service combined between the City of Atlanta and Atlanta Public Schools in February of 2025, should I make it, will be 30 years. This is a city that I love, and I love it dearly. And so to answer your question around, where do we see ourselves going from here? We all know and have heard and talked about the mayor's 4 pillars, which we work hard at daily. I've had an opportunity to meet with each and every one of you, not just one time, but several times, to learn about the concerns in your communities, the people who you represent daily. And that's what we're going to work towards. We're going to take those 4 pillars and we're going to work hard to make Atlanta what Atlanta is and what it can be and what it should be. And so we've talked about various departments from you all that we want to make improvements on. I'm hoping that since I've been interim, you have seen some of those changes happen. And I hope that it is a testament to the hard work that we are committed to. We have a mayor who works sun up to sun up, is what I say. He just never stops. And he expects that of us. I have given our cabinet a charge. We are supercharging government this year. We're going to work hard. We're going to work harder. And we're really going to strive to meet each one of our departmental goals. And I hope to provide that level of leadership for each of the commissioners of our cabinet in order to reach their goals.
We've been joined by Mr. Amos. Well, I'll just say you're very experienced, so you're not going to be fooled or tricked by what goes on around here. You know that I don't hesitate to share my potentially overripe opinions with whoever the COO is, so
Right.
I don't. That's a string I'm going to continue. But I would love it if you could just kind of respond to my initial question, which is, you know what you want to do, you know what needs to be fixed, you know what needs to be improved, but there's not enough hours in the day to work on all of that equally. So I'm just love to hear you just talk off the top of your head about how you're going to prioritize your efforts.
Sure, and I was hoping I was answering that when I talked about, and I'm sorry if it didn't come off that way when I talked about the mayor's 4 priorities.
I'm looking for specifics.
You're looking for very specifics. I can tell you, there's 1 or 2 departments I've heard from each of you on. And as interim, we have already started making changes in those departments from leadership on down, and you will continue to see that in various departments. I take the feedback that you all give us and the charge that the mayor has given me very seriously. And when we see opportunities for growth, no matter what that means, we're willing to take those on. And so without calling out particular names or departments, I think we all know where we've seen the most challenges, and I've heard from you, and that's the direction we're headed in.
Mr. Wan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Madam COO, I'm pleased to support your appointment. I mean, you and I first started working together back in 2005, and it was on the then Atlanta Development Authority Board, and it's been a real pleasure to continue working with you since. I'm particularly excited about you in this position because I feel like, given everything you described in terms of your experience at the city, your experience as an elected official, you understand that there is an operational piece to everything. There is also a public retail-facing engagement piece of that equation as well. And we have to be in lockstep in partnership, council and the administration, in order to make this work. I've already seen how you will be present and will help and partner with us engaging with the public, answering questions, sometimes very, very difficult questions. But that's what my expectations and aspirations for you are. And I know you can do it because I've seen it, and even in the short period that you've been in the interim. We're going to all have our priorities. Sometimes, our priorities will line up exactly at that very moment. Sometimes they won't. But I think so long as we have an understanding and that partnership and collaboration that we're in this together, we're going to face the music together, and there are things that operationally will help alleviate and help make that public interaction smoother, easier, and more encouraging and more effective. I hope that we will continue that spirit that you've already exemplified in the interim position. So I look forward to continue to work with you in the official role. But yeah, again, that's what I've already seen, and I'm looking forward to more of. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. LaShondra, hi. You're about to get me in trouble. So I'm going to word this carefully. You are one of the best decisions the mayor has made, putting you in this position.
Thank you.
We worked together on the school board. We worked together on the school board, and I was literally sitting in my office recuperating from transportation. I listened to public comment. I listened to Invest Atlanta presentation, and thank you, Invest Atlanta, for what you're doing. But I came in here to be a part of this official vote, to show my support, show my willingness to support and belief that we both share in the greatness of this city. So I'm going to leave it right there and just say thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Amos.
All right, anyone else? We've got a motion and a second. Ms. Overstreet, were you reaching for the button?
Yes.
Okay.
I also want to share my support. And I want you to bring that speech with you on Monday, because I'd like for you to come to full council. I know quite a bit about you, but I didn't know all of that. And working with you has truly been a pleasure. And it's not because you are open to all conversations, but it really and truly is your work. When I express details to you, you don't just show up to talk about them. You've already done homework and figured out a solution path. And that doesn't happen all the time. And so that's not just talk, that's walking the walk. And I really and truly like what you shared with us today. I didn't know about the tickets for the trucks. And it's a couple other things that I didn't know about, and it kind of reminded me of my love for Atlanta. And so I understand now why you show up the way that you do. I did tickets for Delta Airlines, literally the same way. We had copies that we would have to hand to different people because we didn't have electronic anything at the time. And so I can see that that's your era, and that you're invested here in a big way, not just in talk. And it really shines a light on how you know so much about the things that I bring to you. It's not a surface level conversation that we have. Like, we can talk about pretty much anything in the community, and you have history there, and it shows, and I appreciate that. It's a level of confidence that come with that, that I trust when you're saying you're working on something, and you will give me those details each and every time. So please bring that information on Monday so that we'll all be ready to hear it again. But I want everyone to hear that, because that really is a testament to how we're moving Atlanta forward. Okay? So thank you so much. And I'm happy to support
Thank you,
this.
Councilmember Overstreet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I didn't want to be left out. So, but no, I had something that I wanted to say was about, two things come to mind when I think about this role, and that's visibility and responsiveness. And I think you've embodied those during your interim time, and also just in previous roles where I've encountered, just being able to work with you. And I want you to know that those things are important for us as council members. You being visible not just to us and being available, which you have always had an open door policy, but to our constituents, and knowing the role of how our government works. And I think you've done an incredible job with that. The responsiveness has been incredible, that you've been so responsive in times of crisis, times where we've needed you texting at, all kinds of various hours of the morning and at night about different issues that we've had. And we appreciate that, because part of it is us being able to communicate with our constituents. But part of us being effective in our role is not getting bogged down into the day-to-day constituents' work, because at the end of the day, the buck stops with you on that. You've been doing an incredible job with that. And so I, too, just want to lend my support and let you know that, we're here in a partnership with you, and look forward to you being in this role. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Winston.
All right, let's vote and put her to work.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the ayes have it. It's too late for a recount.
Thank you. Thank you to each of you. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Evans, could you send our first reads, please?
Item number 2 is 24-0-1553, an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer or his designee to amend the fiscal year 2025 Department of City Planning General Fund budget and the fiscal year 2025 Capital Finance Fund budget by transferring an amount not to exceed $495,000.00 by anticipating and appropriating funds to and from the accounts listed herein for the purpose of continuing comprehensive planning services for the 2026 Comprehensive Development Plan and for other purposes. Item number 3 is 24-0-1554, an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to grant a temporary easement over a portion of city-owned property consisting of approximately 2,888.25 square feet, more or less, located at 1154 Jackson Parkway Northwest and land lot 259 of the 17th District, Fulton County, Atlanta, Georgia, to the Georgia Department of Transportation to facilitate the construction and maintenance of adjacent roadway improvements at the intersection of State Route 280 and Northwest Drive on Georgia Highway Project ID listed here, waiving Section 2-1545, Article 10, Division 14, Subsection 3 of the Atlanta City Code and for other purposes. Item number 4, 24-0-1555, an ordinance by Finance Executive Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year Water and Wastewater 2025 budget by transferring released monies from the Water and Wastewater Debt Service Reserve to the Water and Wastewater Renewal Extension Fund in an amount not to exceed $149,721,015.52 to fund capital costs of the Department of Watershed Management and for other purposes.
All right, those being first reads, we'll take them up at our next sitting unless there's an objection. Let's go out of order and take 26. As the presenter, Ms. Rackley, has a time issue. So that is on page 9 of your printed agenda. 24R4302 is a resolution by Finance Exec authorizing the mayor designee to enter into special procurement agreement, the number of which is listed here. eBuilder software implementation, support and training services with eBuilder Inc. on behalf of Department of Watershed Management pursuant to the code section indicated here for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewals in an amount not to exceed $1,464,167.40, subject to and expressly contingent on the adoption of FY 26, 27, and 28 and 29 budgets. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from, etc. Hello, Ms. Rackley.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairman Shook and council members. Daphne Rackley, Deputy Chief Information Officer. And the purpose of this legislation is to continue with continuity of services for eBuilder. eBuilder is utilized by Watershed for program management as their program management information system for all of the capital projects, and it provides full capital life cycle project management. And it's been used for several years. Legislation dates back to around 2015, so we barely invested in this application.
Okay, motion by Juan, second by Winston. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
I thank you. Item passes. And were you presenting on anything else today?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right. Very good, very well. Thank you. All right, let's go back to the top of our regular agenda. Item I, ordinances for second read, first of which is 24-0-1527, ordinance by Finance Exec, waiving the code section indicated here to authorize the mayor as designee to enter into the First Amendment to the agreement, the number of which is listed, pre-employment physicals and drug testing with Caduceus USA Medical Services, LLC, on behalf of HR for the purpose of adding funding in an amount not to exceed $350,000. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from, et cetera. Commissioner Blackburn, how are you?
Good afternoon, Chair Shook, Vice Chair Juan, Calvin Blackburn, Interim Commissioner for Department of Human Resources. Also want to acknowledge Chief Financial Officer Mohammed Bala. Wanted to speak to this matter. As you know, Caduceus, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, provides pre-employment physicals and drug testing. And we entered into an agreement pursuant to an emergency, well, they were approved as an emergency vendor back in October 2022 to provide pre-employment physicals and drug testing services. You may recall that that original agreement was not to exceed $750,000. Well, since then, there's been an increase in hiring here at the city from 2022 to 2024. We've experienced about a 26% increase in hiring, which of course that's led to increased screening, increased exams, of course increased costs. So these are essential services. So in order to meet those costs, we're requesting at this time an additional $350,000, and we're asking that you amend this contract to allow us to do that.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. So let's open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
The ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
All right, item 6 has a substitute. I'll read the proposed substitute, caption 24-0-1540, an ordinance by Ms. Norwood, substituted by Finance Exec, authorizing transfer of $2,000 from the District 8 carry forward account to the Council District 8 distribution account to continue serving the Atlanta community for the public good and for other purposes.
Move to bring the substitute forward.
I'll second that. Procedural vote to bring the substitute forward. Let's open it.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, substitutes before us,
Move to approve on substitute.
and I will second that. If there's no questions or comments, let's open that vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, the next item also has a substitute. The caption reads 24-0-1541, an ordinance by Juan and Westmoreland, is substituted by Finance Exec, authorizing a donation in amount not to exceed $7,500 from the District 6 and post to at large carry forward accounts to Horizons Atlanta pursuant to the section of the charter indicated here to assist with their summer enrichment program and for other purposes. Motion to bring the substitute forward. Second by Juan. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open.
And the substitute adds Mr. Westmoreland as a co-sponsor and has the proper amount.
Move to approve on substitute.
I'll second that. If there's nothing else, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, let's take 8 and 9 together, please. 24-0-1544 is an ordinance by Mr. Faroki authorizing a donation in amount not to exceed $1,000 from the District 2 carry forward account to the Midtown High School Athletic Booster Club pursuant to the section of the charter indicated here. 24-0-1545 is an ordinance by Mr. Faroki authorizing a donation in amount not to exceed $20,000 from the District 2 distribution account to the Georgia Municipal Association pursuant to the same section of the city charter and for other purposes. I'll move approval of both. Second by Juan. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
The ayes have it. 24-0-1548 is an ordinance by Ms. Overstreet authorizing the mayor or his designee to amend the Park Pride Agreement to add funding in an amount not to exceed $750,000 annually, beginning for FY25, for the purpose of contributing to the Community Park Fund, supporting historically disinvested communities on behalf of Parks and Rec, and to amend the Park Pride Agreement to increase the total not to exceed amount payable by the city during the initial term of the agreement to $1,710,000, and authorizing the CFO to make payments from the account numbers listed and for other purposes. Ms. Marr.
Move to amend.
Okay, well, the motion is to amend, and there is a second, so let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, we've got a motion and a second.
Vote is open.
Let's open the vote.
The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, Ms. Marr. 24-0-1549 is an ordinance by Shook, supplementing that certain Series 2024 bond ordinance adopted by the Atlanta City Council on the date indicated and approved by the mayor on the date indicated to, among other things, set forth the terms of the City of Atlanta Water and Wastewater Subordinate Lien Revenue Bond Series 2024, including the original aggregate principal amount, interest rates, maturity amounts, and maturity dates, ratifying certain prior actions of the officers and agents of the city with respect to the issuance and sale of those bonds, ratifying and approving the execution and delivery of a bond purchase agreement, ratifying and approving the preparation, use, and distribution of a preliminary official statement, and the execution and delivery of a final official statement in connection with the offer and sale of the bonds, authorizing the CFO to create bond fund blank to amend FY25 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations bond proceeds in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed blank, and bond premium in the amount not to exceed blank, and for other related purposes. And am I right that we're going to get the substitute on Monday?
So this is the pricing ordinance, which will be it'll be referred to council on Monday to be held until the special call meeting on Wednesday.
So we're sending it forward with no recommendation.
Correct.
Right, that's my
And what this structure does, this is a cash optimization strategy, again, for the Department of Watershed Management, which is essentially a refunding strategy. It allows us to yield some debt service savings, and this will save the Department of Watershed Management roughly $40 million. We used cash on hand to defease 2017 and 2018 bonds, and we'll be selling $380 million of bonds on premium. We will be in New York pricing that deal on Tuesday, the 22nd, and we will be before you on a special call meeting on the 23rd to talk about the pricing. Again, this is innovative territories for the Department of Finance, and it's a first for the city, so we're happy in that capacity for a cash optimization strategy.
All right, well, there's been a motion and a second to move it forward with no recommendation. If there's nothing else, let's open that vote.
Would you repeat the mover and seconder, please?
I was the mover, and Mr. Juan was the seconder.
Thank you. The vote is open. Vote is closed. 5 yeas and 0 nays.
The ayes have it. So ordered. Takes us to resolutions, the first of which is a proposed substitute, the caption of which reads 24R 4197, resolution by Mr. Juan, is substituted by Finance Exec, requesting the Atlanta Department of Transportation provide a list of all outstanding Renew Atlanta and Moving Atlanta Forward infrastructure bond projects within 45 days, requesting the CFO to provide potential funding sources for any such outstanding projects within 30 days of the original list, and for other purposes. I'll move to bring the substitute forward. Second by Juan. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
I'll second that. If there's nothing else, let's open that vote. Motion is to approve.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, items approved on substitute. 24R 4200 is a resolution by Mr. Bond authorizing mayor or his designee to execute the agreements for the RFP indicated vertical and horizontal job order contracting large with the respondents which are listed here on behalf of Enterprise Assets Management and the departments listed in Exhibit A to provide citywide construction renovation and other services for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options, an amount not to exceed $100 million annually per contract. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the FDAOs indicated. Mr. Jackson.
All right. Good afternoon.
And
I'm Maurice Jackson with I'm the Director of Technical Service for the Department of Enterprise Asset Management. And the purpose of this legislation is to execute a new agreement for our large JOT program. And this program will be for all horizontal and vertical projects. And the contractors awarded on that are SoCo Catamount Joint Venture, EDT Techno SDCC Joint Venture, and FH Passion Millhouse Joint Venture, and this would be on a task order basis, and it's an amount not to exceed $100 million.
were all of the respondents selected?
No, we had 6 respondents and only 3 made it.
All right, Mr. Wan.
So I just want to make sure I am seeing this dollar amount correctly. It is $100 million annually per contract, and it is what is the term? Three-year contract. So this is basically a multi-billion-dollar contract, right? And so I'm kind of curious. We do this, but then each time a project is needed, it's done as a task force, and we will see those.
You will see it.
Okay, and then that'll be our way of kind of just tracking progress. Okay, and now the $100 million, that just seems like a big amount. Now granted, this is citywide and it's large, but on average, how big are the task orders?
Well, it's a citywide contract, but for us, most of our contracts right now are around about, for some of the fire stations, running around about 15 million.
Okay.
But airport or watershed or some of the other departments have bigger projects.
Okay. Okay. All right. I appreciate the extra detail. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So what drove the 100 million figure?
Well, it just having enough capacity for the various departments.
That was based on a 1-year, 5-year, 10-year look back? There was some formula that spit that very large number out.
The thing with the large jock is that up to, from 5 million up to 25 million for the contract. So we just wanted to have enough capacity, having all the jocks, the amount of work that's going to be produced will end up being somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100 million.
All right, and granted, we will authorize, these as needed. I'm just curious, Mr. CFO, you have any comments? We're not usually confronted with this kind of ask.
True, and we're also not committing, to be clear to everybody, hundreds of millions of dollars. It's as needed and the task orders come. I think the differentiator, and the public and council should know, in the past when we would do these open joint venture type contracts, they generally did not have a dollar limit associated with it. So at least this has parameters of how much they can be or can't be, but you will be coming back with each task order for each specific category. We don't have billions of dollars for this work.
Mr. Wan.
I just going to make one more comment. I think I understand, and when you put it in perspective in terms of the size of the projects, I just don't want the pendulum to have swung so far in the other direction, because I've been focused so much on let's not let out a contract and then over 5 years, we've added so many bells and whistles to it, departments and money, that it doesn't even resemble what it has before. This almost feels like the other side of it, where we've loaded everything on it just in case. We've got practically every single department on here, and a pretty significant dollar amount. I mean, I just want to, I know I feel like I have a double standard here, but at the same time, so long as there was a basis for the dollar amount, kind of projects that you had in mind to get to that annual dollar amount, I think that, I mean, we just have to put our faith in that. But anyhow, I'll be supportive of this, but it's a big jaw-dropping number.
All right, so Mr. Wan made the motion, correct? Was there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Overstreet, thank you. If there's nothing else, let's open the vote.
The vote is open.
Oh, did you want to comment? I'm sorry.
Afterwards.
Okay, all right, let's carry the vote. All right,
Vote is
vote
closed.
carries. Ms. Overstreet.
So going forward, I want to come to a happy medium, because it does seem like this is a little overloaded. I don't see any departments that's not included. So, and I looked at it really good. So I really want to figure out a sweet spot where we have just a little more control over understanding the legislation better, as far as who's going to get what when. You know, this is pretty loaded.
Well, I mean, we're doing it on a task order
Yeah.
basis.
Okay.
So that's a good way of tracking who gets what and how much using it for. I mean, you could probably have a airport project that's, can do almost half of this or more, or all of this, probably in one task.
I mean, so truthfully, I can kind of understand a little bit why it's, so inclusive of all of the departments. But it does, it does appear that we could change something. I wish I had a suggestion. If I think of one, I'll call you.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
All right, well, the motion carried, so items approved. It takes us to 24R 4208, resolution by Ms. Overstreet authorizing the mayor to execute the First Amendment to the vendor indicated emergency food and shelter program grant, number of which is indicated on behalf of the mayor's office of international and immigrant affairs with Inspiritus Inc. to add additional funding in the amount not to exceed $710,005, all contracted work to be charged to and paid from, etc. And do we have a presenter?
Good afternoon.
Hey, Ms. Ramos.
You got a question?
Well, why don't you tell us about it first? Yeah, tell us about it.
Yes, so we're adding additional funding to this contract. So originally, if you all remember, we had a general, even amount across the board, all our subrecipients, which is around $710,000. This grant, it was given in advance to the city, and so it's reimbursable services, and also the contract, the grant has been extended 4 times as of now. So obviously, as things have extended, these organizations have incurred more costs. In particular, this organization has ramped up their services, and so we would like to add more funding to ensure that we reimburse them for those services that they've provided on behalf of this grant.
My question is pretty simple. Is this FEMA money, or is this?
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's all I need to know. I'll move approval.
All right, approval by Juan, second by Winston. If there's nothing else, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, 24R 4209 is a resolution by Shook authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute amendment number 1 for the 2025 employee benefits contractual agreements for the RFP indicated with A, Anthem for self-insured medical and drug, B, Kaiser Permanente for fully insured medical and drug, C, United Healthcare for Medicare Advantage prescription drugs, Plan 1, D, United Healthcare for Medicare Advantage prescription drugs, Plans 2 and 3, E, Kaiser Permanente for Medicare Advantage prescription drugs, Plan 4, F, Cigna for dental self-insured DPPO plan, G, United Healthcare for dental fully insured DHMO plan, H, United Healthcare for the vision plan, I, Anthem for life, AD&D insurance, Aflac for individual short-term disability, K, Cigna for group accident insurance, critical illness and hospital indemnity plans, L, Anthem for FSA healthcare and dependent care, and M, Anthem for COBRA and retiree billing on behalf of HR to add to the 2025 benefit rates to be paid from the accounts listed and for other purposes. Mr. Salmon.
Afternoon. My name is James Salmon. I'm the new Director of Benefits for the City of Atlanta. I'm here to present information with... Excuse me? Thank you. I'm here to present and answer questions with regards to the open enrollment and share information with regards to the contribution rates for this open enrollment period that's coming up. I'm pointing out with regards to the mayor's pillars, where we feel that this falls for this conversation, we'll be talking about a city built for the future. Our objective is to maintain a competitive benefits program, ensure that benefits are affordable for both the city and our plan participant, continue to be able to attract and retain talent, and also review the finalized contracts with new vendors who were selected during the 2023 benefit solicitation process. A couple key points that we want to point out. Open enrollment is scheduled to take place from November 4th through November 17th. This will be an active enrollment, and we are requesting that all employees go through the process to make their coverage election for the 2025 plan year during this particular point in time. Some employee support initiatives that we want to refresh memories with regards to. One, there hasn't been a price increase on the Anthem plan since January of 2022. The City of Atlanta has taken on nearly a 20% more of the shared costs with regards to the cost share between the employees and the employer with regards to the Anthem plans themselves. There has been that 3.5 cost of living adjustment and retention pay bonuses that was paid during the fiscal year of 2023, as well as that 3.5% cost of living adjustment for the fiscal year 2024. I will be mentioning to some degree with regards to the new classification and compensation plan with pay increases for grades 19 and below, as well as that 2% enhancement for grades 20 and above. And of course, the minimum wage adjustment scheduled for 2025, bumping that minimum wage up to $17.50. What we're looking at right now on this particular slide is pointing out the number of vendors that's covered the different type of health and welfare plans that we currently provide and will be providing for the 2025 plan year. What I'm going to speak to specifically right now are those that are highlighted in blue, which will be the new vendors that will be taking care of that particular benefit for 2025. Starting with the fully insured Medicare Advantage and prescription drug APD program, United Healthcare will have that responsibility going into next year. Cigna will be taking care of the self-insured dental plan that we offer, whereas the United Healthcare benefit provider will be taking care of the fully insured dental plan that we have. And lastly, as mentioned earlier, COBRA and retirement billing will be taken care of by Anthem. And then for the ancillary benefits, accident insurance, critical illness, as well as a hospital indemnity plan, Cigna will be the new provider for that, offering that benefit going into the next plan year. Specific with regards to what's changing from 2024 to 2025. From a plan design standpoint, there's two areas that we wanted to make mention of. One, with the Medicare Advantage prescription drug plan, the drug out-of-pocket maximum is decreasing from $8,000 to $2,000. The high deductible health plans that we're currently providing, there's going to be an increase in the deductible. For example, for those that's at single coverage, their deductible is going to increase by $100. This is a compliance issue as far as this being federally mandated. This isn't something that the City of Atlanta has come up with, nor has the benefits team has come up with. This is just part of the overall process for us to be compliant with the plan. The next slide and the remainder of this slide will talk about the specific cost changes that will be taking place for 2025, starting off with the self-insured medical plan that we have with Anthem. For those that are participating in the high deductible plan with Anthem, they will not see a change to their employee contribution amount. What they're paying today will be the same amount that they pay for the new plan year. For those that are participating in the point of service plan, they will see an increase in what they're paying to participate in that particular plan. That increase can range from as little as $20 for single coverage up to $66 for family coverage. On average, these particular employees will probably be responsible for 21.7% of the overall premium to be a participant in that particular plan. For our non-Medicare retirees, also in the self-insured medical plan, they will also see an increase in their costs. Typically for the retirees, depending on when they retired and the date they were hired, they fall into a category where they're either responsible for 26% of the premium, 36% of the premium, or 46% of the premium. For this particular plan, it was deemed that that size of an increase would be too much of a burden for that group to bear. So for this particular group, they were responsible for either 21.7%, 30.8%, or 39.9% of the premium. Moving on to the fully insured medical plan that's operated by Kaiser. For those that are in the high deductible plan, that what they pay today will be the same amount that they pay in the next plan year for our active employees. For those that are participating in the HMO plan, they will see an increase in their cost. That cost is going to range from as $6 if they're just covering themselves, up to $21 if they're at that family level for the premiums that they'll be responsible for. On average, they will be responsible for that group about 26% of the premium cost. Of course, the other amount will be the responsibility of the City of Atlanta. For the non-Medicare retirees, they will still fall into that same categories of either being 26, 36, or 46% responsible for the premium. Moving on, as far as the other cost changes are concerned, with regards to the Medicare Advantage prescription drug program, for those Medicare retirees, they will continue to be at the same premium responsibility of either 26, 36, or 46% of the premium. Dealing with our self-insured dental plan, which will be covered by Cigna. For those that are active employees, what they're paying today, whether it's the Cigna High or the low option, that'll be the same amount that they pay for the 2025 plan year. For retirees, they'll still be responsible for that 26, 36, or 46% of the premium. For those that are in the fully insured dental option through the United Healthcare, they'll continue to pay 26% of the premium, but their actual costs will be slightly lower than what they're paying today. And a little bit later in the presentation, you'll see exactly where they'll see the differences as far as what they're paying with that. Again, retirees will still be responsible for that 26, 36, and 46% premium. There's no change to our vision provider. That still will be United Healthcare. And those that are either active employees or retirees, there won't be a change to their contribution amount going into the next plan year. What they pay today will still be the same amount for 2025. Lastly, on this particular slide, with regards to the health savings account that we make available for participants in the high deductible plan, the City of Atlanta is going to increase the amount that the employer contributes to their plan. If you are at the single level, you'll move from a $500 contribution to a $600 contribution. For those that are at what's considered a family level, that amount will move from $750 to $900. This is a lump sum amount that's given at the beginning of the year for every participant in the plan. They'll have access to those dollars immediately at the beginning of the plan year, as opposed to a contribution that would happen over time over the pay periods in 2025. Lastly, with regards to cost changes, dealing specifically with our life insurance, for our participants in either the retiree basic or the grandfathered retiree basic life insurance plan, there won't be a change in the contributions that those retirees will have to pay to continue that particular coverage. With regards to our active employees that participate in the voluntary or supplemental life options, they'll be fully responsible for the premium with that and pay the appropriate rate that won't change from one plan year to the next. The next couple of slides go into specifically the new contributions amount for the core benefits that we offer, medical, dental, and vision, for both our active employees and our retirees. We wanted this body to have an opportunity to see the impact of the cost increase for the medical plan for our particular employees. As I mentioned earlier, on the left-hand side of this particular slide, you'll see for those that are participating in either the Anthem point of service or the Kaiser HMO plan, they will see that increase in their amount. And it's reflected here as far as the size of the amount and what that new amount will be for the next plan year. For those that are participating in either the high deductible plan with Anthem or Kaiser, again, they won't see a change in their amount. What they're paying today will be the amount that they pay for the 2025 plan year. And at the bottom of this particular slide, just another refresher with regards to the new amounts that will be available for individuals that's participating in that high deductible plan. Well, they'll have access to the employer contribution, now ranging from $600 for single coverage and $900 for family level. The next slide deals with our retirees, dealing with the non-Medicare medical and prescription drug program offered by Anthem and Kaiser, where I mentioned earlier they won't be at that 26, 36, or 46% employee premium. They'll get that reduced premium responsibility going into this particular plan year. On the left-hand side, for those individuals that were hired from prior to April 1 of 1986, they'll be at that, I believe it was 20 percentage points with regards to their responsibility. On the right-hand side, this will be that second group that normally would be at 36%, but they'll now be at reduced. And then on the next slide, you'll see, for example, for the individuals that would normally be responsible for a 46% premium, their responsibility is reduced, and these are the impact for their particular costs. For our retirees, their contributions are in monthly amount increments, as opposed to the biweekly amounts that we were showing for our active employees. The next slide deals with our Medicare Advantage prescription drug program administered by Kaiser and UHC. For those that are participating in this plan, they will see an increase. And again, these next three slides speak to the responsibilities for those at the 26, 36, and 46% rate. Again, for those that are at that United Healthcare, we have the option for those that are covered by Part A and Part B only, as well as a Kaiser Senior Advantage program with that. Again, this is showing for their responsibility at 36, and this next slide is showing for those that will be covered at have the responsibility for the 46% of the premium. The next slide gets into our split option that we offer for retirees with regards to the Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield point of service and the United Healthcare MAPD program. This here again is broken out between the 26, 36, and 46% premium responsibilities for those particular retirees. We're showing both the 26 and 36 on this slide, and the next slide is showing specifically for those that will be covered at the 46% rate. Changing gears for a moment, we'll talk specifically about the dental coverage that's now going to be provided by Cigna, as well as with United Healthcare. As I mentioned earlier, for those participants that are participating in either the high or low option today, with Cigna as a new provider, there won't be a change in what they're responsible for to continue that coverage for the 2025 plan year. For those that are participating in the United Healthcare DHMO option, their cost is slightly reduced, and on this particular slide, you can see the amounts that they'll be looking for as far as a difference in what they're paying today. For our retirees, we're back to the same responsibility with regards to that 26%, 36, or 46%, depending on the time they were hired, as well as the time that they retired. These are their monthly rates for them to continue their coverage in the plan. This showing for 36%, and then lastly for 46%. Moving on to our vision plan, regardless if you are an active employee or if they are a retiree, there won't be a change in their particular cost to participate in the plan. What they're paying today for coverage will be the same thing going into the 2025 plan year. Lastly, with regards to the class and compensation study survey, we wanted to give an opportunity for our council members to see the impact with regards to the salary increases that are budgeted for those that are being impacted by this class and compensation survey. Two examples of what that would have an impact on for an employee. In this particular example, John David, who is an environmental service worker, who's eligible for due to years of service and the type of position that he holds, the type of increase that he's going to receive. We're showing here in this particular slide a snapshot of what his gross pay would look like both today for 2024 and on the right-hand side for what it would look like for 2025 if only the medical deduction was to be taken out. Of course, there are applicable taxes and any other deductions that would have an impact on their overall net pay, but this is just a way to give a little bit of a snapshot of the type of impact it's going to have on that overall net pay for that particular employee. On the next slide, for those that would be eligible for what we're referring to as a 2% enhancement, we're giving that same type of look, what their current salary is today, what their salary would be for 2025, and then with the adjustment going and taking place with their salary, as well as for the medical plan only, depending on which plan they're under, for those particular individuals, this would be the impact specifically for that medical plan. Again, any applicable taxes as well as any other deductions would still have to have an impact before it would determine their overall net pay. Lastly, with regards to this presentation, just a reminder, our open enrollment period is going to be from November 4th through the 17th. Employees as well as retirees will have access to the ATL cloud system that they currently use today to be able to make their elections, make any changes, review who they have for their beneficiaries, and complete the process to signify what they would like to have for the 2025 plan year. The benefits team is more than ready to answer any questions available for our active employees as well as for our retirees in a variety of different ways. Of course, we have our support line that's available, the benefits website that we also have available, including the benefits Atlanta email address. In addition to that, with the HR showcase that's going to take place during the first period of time within the open enrollment period, our benefits team, as well as providers or representatives from our benefit plan providers, will be on hand at a variety of locations, included here at the City Hall atrium, to be able to answer those questions, provide some feedback, and assist our employees and retirees complete the actual enrollment process. So I feel like I've covered a lot of information in a short period of time. Does anyone have any questions with regards to the information that I've discussed, or was there a question that you may have had that we didn't happen to cover?
You have covered an amazing amount of really impactful data in a very short time. So let me start with this. So for employees who want to comb through this at a kind of a regular speed, where will they find it?
So they'll find so a couple of ways. We're sending out our benefits enrollment guide. It's scheduled to be sent out towards the end of this particular month in time.
Where can you go online, like
sure.
right now?
Online right now, where individuals can get information about the benefits that we offer. They're able to do that at the benefits webpage. I believe it's benefits.atlanta.gov. They'll be able to review information with regards to what we currently provide. And during the open enrollment period, we'll also have the new information regarding the new carriers, Cigna, as well as a couple of others where they'll be able to review that information.
So the benefits website is part of what website?
The benefits website is where
is that under HR?
It's part of the Department of Human Resources, but the website itself is available for anyone that's looking for information. They can go to benefits.atlantaga.gov to get information about the benefit plans that we offer.
Okay, and then you mentioned there was a helpline, hotline.
Correct. There's our helpline that's also listed there, as well as for those that have access to our benefits team via the way that we have it split up by alphabet, they'll be able to contact their benefits rep to answer questions.
All right, I'll withhold my questions for now. Ms. Overstreet.
Yes, that was a lot of information that you've delivered more than once. You've done it for us, you and your team.
Yes.
In our small groups as well. I want to thank you all for taking the time, actually, to do that. We know that these benefit packages are very personalized. You know, it's hard for us to understand all of the different scenarios and reasons for needing what coverage, when, how, like every single situation is different. And so all of that has to be accounted for in these packages. So much so, my main question during our time on the call was to find out the dates that you all were going to be in the atrium for everyone. If you could, you know, just share that information publicly out loud today.
Sure. Well, I haven't committed those dates to memory.
Okay.
I can say that the teaser announcement specific for that will be sent out by the end of this week. There's I believe, a total of 8 dates in general, where half of those will be here in the atrium, as well as the other half will be out in a number of recreation centers, as well as some other specific facilities to be available for employees and retirees. But I'll make certain that the specific dates are shared with this particular forum as soon as this conversation.
Okay, so this, in synopsis, during open enrollment, you all will be available for speaking about the personal packages that each employee will receive.
Correct.
In public, here at City Hall and in different various locations throughout the city as well.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, and I'm sure we'll have that on social media and all of the
Yes,
different areas.
Correct. We are excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt, but we are working with our communications team to make certain that that is shared via the tools that are typically used for that particular purpose.
Absolutely, because that is extremely important, that outreach and just being there to answer the questions that anyone may have throughout the whole process until the end of enrollment, open enrollment. But so that was my information. My purpose for speaking was just to find out, Chair, publicly, because that's people, once they get those packages, which are going to go out real soon, that's when the questions are actually going to come. And they do need to feel supported. And I have confidence you all have a lot of knowledge to be able to help each and every last one of them. So that's it. I yield.
All right, thank you. And I do appreciate the briefing that you provided last week on this. To Councilmember Overstreet's point, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts right now in terms of people's paychecks. The class and comp, some people they should have received notices in terms of what their specific impact will be if they're a class and comp adjustment or if they're that minimum 2%. And then this increase is going to change based on, what plans they elect. Most everybody's going to want to know, well, what is my first paycheck going to look like in January when these take effect? So one of the things that we had talked about potentially was a modeler that could be used during those one-on-one sessions or even as an online tool so that people can kind of get an idea about this. So I'm hoping y'all are making progress on that.
Absolutely. We are in development to create that particular calculator to take into account applicable taxes as well as any other deductions. I've actually been doing research on that on my own as well, just for my own curiosity to be able to find the best way to share that information.
Great. Just again, because we're making a lot of changes all at the same time, and at the end of the day, they just want to know what their new paycheck will look like. Second thing is I understand that y'all were going to be meeting with employee representation groups. Has that meeting taken place, and how did that go?
That meeting did take place. It was yesterday.
Okay.
It was a robust conversation with regards to the employee contributions, as well as requests or just some feedback with regards to how that group could be more involved in the process and to determine what goes into the benefit plans that we currently provide, as well as what plan design. And I've taken plenty of notes to be certain to do some research to see how we can best accommodate that type of request.
Great, thank you. I think we just have to continue to, since it's the first time we've changed these rates in 3 years, we've held them flat. I think we've got to continue reminding folks about that we are as proactive as possible in trying to get this new information out. So I appreciate your having met with them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, and the new rates will take effect when?
Those rates would take effect January 1
In one.
for the first half.
And remind us what the city's percentage is in terms of employer-employee contribution and how that compares
I will. So this,
nationally.
Mohammed Bala, the cities has a policy where the employee is supposed to contribute 26% of the cost, and the city contributes 74% of the cost. Because we've held that constant over the last 3 years, that current contribution for the employees is less than the 26% requirement. Currently, it's about 21.7%. So over the next few years, the intent is that we get back to the place where employees are contributing the requisite amount of 26% of the health care offerings for the city of Atlanta. Close to 80-20 split between city and employee is considered a very kind of rich plan on behalf of the city of Atlanta right now.
All right, and then I think it's important that employees and us be reminded that federal mandates are driving some of these increases. This isn't just something we decided to do.
Right.
You know, Mr. Wan said it, we need to say it over and over again. You know, the contract that has expired held rates flat for 3 years. As you know, healthcare costs are never flat. They never go down. They just go up. And what's the annual average increase for healthcare costs? It's 26%?
Correct.
6%?
Between 20 and 26, depending on the employer, depending on the size of the organization, and a number of other factors.
Despite that, so this plan is well below.
Correct.
Is well below that. You know, I've heard it said, and there's been a couple examples here suggesting that because of the pay increases that are resulting from the pay and class study, that no one's pay raise is going to be eaten up 100% by these increases. I will tell you, if we get out of this without a handful of employees coming before us saying, oh, that's not my situation, I'll be very, very happy. Now, do we need to amend this document?
No, everything that was needed is included in the packet in Elms now.
If I may,
To just one point to Council Chair Shook's point with regards to the moving parts with pay as well as these increases for some of the participants. The administration, the city was very intentional to make sure that the high deductible plan was not impacted at all. So there is a path for employees who are price conscious to switch over to the high deductible plan, which also coincides with an increase to the health savings account by $100. So we were intentional to make sure that there was still a path for employees who are price conscious when making this decision. We do understand that even for some employees who are making these decisions, who are going from the high deductible plan to the POS plan, there will be just natural changes there, and there might be one or two employees that are impacted more than others when it comes to the decision they make with regards to health care offerings from the city, as well as the class and comp implementation.
Let me ask this, since in your definition of a more perfect world, the split would be around 80-20.
No. In a perfect world, and all our other comps around here, the split is generally 75-25. That's what Fulton does. That's what Cobb County does. The city of Atlanta has it at 76-24. Right now, we're off that target. We're at that 80-20 split between city and employees. So
but I guess my question is, in the immediate wake of the pay and class recommendations, which, by the way, follow multi-year increases for many, many of the employees, wouldn't this have been an opportunity to take a little bit bolder step in that direction? I mean,
yeah.
If we don't do it now,
Right.
I mean, when are we going to do it?
That is a good question. And we looked at the different recommendations that were made with regards to the employer split, and we just thought that it would be more thoughtful and a more appropriate approach to layer on the increases gradually over time than have them all be implemented in one fiscal year, to allow employees to get into, making the right decisions with regards to their benefits, but also structuring their household spending appropriately and accordingly.
All right, Mr. Wan has made a motion to approve. Okay, second by Ms. Overstreet. And any other questions or comments?
I apologize.
I'm sorry?
I had one other thing to point out.
Sir.
Councilwoman Overstreet, your specific question with regards to the dates for the HR showcase when individuals will be here. November 6th, November 12th, and November 15th, the benefits team, in addition to our plan vendors, will be on site at this particular location to be available to answer any questions for our employees and retirees. And again, as I mentioned earlier, there'll be some other dates specific outside of this particular facility where the individuals will be able to come through and answer questions.
Yep, thanks for that clarification. If there's nothing else, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. vote is closed.
All
4
right,
yeas.
ayes have it, so ordered. 24R, thank you. 24R 4210 is a resolution by Mr. Westmoreland authorizing the city to donate a total amount not to exceed $200,000 to Emory University pursuant to the section of the charter listed here to support the development of a digital affordable housing platform to allow City of Atlanta residents to apply for subsidized housing units, authorizing the mayor as designee to enter into a donation agreement which shall detail the actions of Emory University in the development of the digital affordable housing platform, to authorize the CFO or his designee to make the donation authorized hereby from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Administration is requested to hold this. That's my motion. Second by Mr. Winston. If there's questions or comments, Mr. Wan.
So I'm an employee of Emory University, and out of an abundance of caution, to avoid a conflict of interest, I'm going to abstain on all votes on this matter.
Okay, thank you. Let's open the vote. Motion is to hold.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas.
All right, there's one abstention. Motion carries. That takes us to 24R 4213. And I will read the substitute caption. This is a substitute resolution by Finance Exec. A substitute resolution by the Finance Exec authorizing the mayor on behalf of the city to enter into an appropriate contractual agreement for the RFP indicated, managing general contractor services with the Lighty Soco JV LLC to provide managing general contractor services for the Department of Parks and Rec on a task order basis in an amount not to exceed $3.5 million. All services will be charged to and paid from, et cetera. Mr. Hicks. Oh, first I'll make a motion to bring forward the substitute.
Second.
Second by Juan. Let's hold that vote.
The vote is open. Would all members please vote?
Procedural vote to bring forward the substitute. All right, the ayes have it. Substitutes before us. Mr. Hicks.
Thank you. I'm Keith Hicks. I'm the interim Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Parks and Recreation. And the purpose of this substitute resolution allows the City of Atlanta to enter into a contract with Lighty Soco JV LLC to provide managing general contractor services for the Department of Parks and Recreation. The contract is for $3.5 million and will cover various tasks on an as-built or as-needed basis. The initial contract term of 3.5 years, or 3 years, with an option to renew for 2 additional years. The City of Atlanta issued an RFP, and after evaluation, selected Lighty Soco JV LLC as the most qualified contractor for these services. Funds will come from the general fund and the park improvement fund from allotments already specified. $500,000 for consulting services in Parks and Recreation Administration, $1 million for repairs and maintenance in park areas, $2 million for consulting services for the Office of Park. This substitute resolution ensures that the city can efficiently manage and maintain its parks by securing a reliable contractor, helping to enhance public spaces and recreational facilities across Atlanta. The contract supports timely improvements while maintaining financial oversight and accountability.
All right.
Any questions?
All right, the substitutes before us. Here's what I'll say. You know, we all get the iPro reports and we read them, and beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And there's 5 of us here, so there may be 5 different interpretations of the importance one might attach to the numerous flaws in the iPro report. So it's too many for me as chair, so I'm going to do what I think I need to do and vote no to send a message. And I'm going to have other iPro related comments further on in this meeting, because we got 7 of them. And when you get 7 at one time, you see patterns you don't see if you only look at 1 or 2. And so 7 taken, there were none that were totally clean, which perhaps doesn't even bother me. But I would think, Commissioner, that you've been here long enough and had enough time to tell your team what you expect of it and to get the people in place you want. And it seems to me that, given these efforts, and I believe you're a perfectionist, so I'm sure this is an unhappy moment for you, but I would expect there to be fewer and fewer flaws, not more and more, and not the same rate at which the same ones recur. But we're talking people signing for other people, and I'm not even going to go into it. I mean, it's a litany. So I will relinquish, and Mr. Wan, you're up.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at the iPro report on this one as well, and I'm looking at the deficiencies that they found. And this one, for me, I don't feel, I thank goodness the 3 bidders are the 3 awardees. But at some point, will all of these, maybe each one taken on its own isn't enough, but in aggregate opens us up for challenges to our process. And, you know, some of these about providing initials versus an X, that one I don't worry so much about. But missing forms, Mr. Shook's comment about signatures, what point do y'all kind of make that assessment that we're not risking, again, legal challenges to our process? And worse, if I'm another bidder on another contract and I'm looking at this iPro report and I'm seeing everything that's being allowed to kind of be just explained, what's to prevent those proponents from then using the same argument if they end up doing one of these same things? And does that ultimately, over time, as these continue to pile up, essentially undermine the integrity of our and just defensibility of our procurement process? So I don't know if, I mean, that was a lot to just throw out there, but I think those are my concerns as I look at this particular one that has 10 observations. So I don't know if y'all have a response to that.
Jadeep Majumdar, Chief Procurement Officer for City of Atlanta. Mr. Wan and Mr. Shook, we share the same concern that you have at my level too. Our goal is to minimize the number of iPro findings, in fact, have it 0. So to that effect, what we have been seeing is the trend is not actually going down the way we want it to go. So we are putting some corrective action in place to minimize the iPro findings. So to that effect, we will actually have a team that will internally check all the reports before it's handed over to iPro to make sure that, you know, we minimize the findings. These findings, 7 findings, is, for me, is maybe less for someone, but for me, it's too much. We should go down to 1, 0, or 2 maximum, but nothing should be significant that can derail the procurement process that we have in the city.
Well, I'll say, you know, what I always say, which is just to remind people, including myself, that you can only be as good as the departments with whom you do business. So that's my automatic disclaimer, you know, that I'll throw out there yet again. But, and I'll just say it one more time, I mean, the number should be going down. I mean, maybe you don't have I'll stop. I mean, it's your department. I don't know what the problems are. I mean, that is kind of your job to know. So you assert that these are going to be a lot cleaner in the future. I mean, I'm going to make this a hobby of mine. So any other questions or comments? Ms. Overstreet.
I actually think my colleagues have said quite enough. I actually have a question about some of the line items. I calculated maybe 2.5 in consulting fees, 2.5 million. Is that correct?
Are we talking about 17?
Yeah. Is that not correct?
17 is $500,000 for consulting fees.
But then it was brought back again with another set of consulting fees. Is that not correct? Wait a minute, 2 million from. Okay, well, I'm gonna, we do have 3 different ones here with the same JV LLC, and maybe I'm mixing it up.
So 17 is Litti Soko JV LLC, and that's for services. And that would be for, things like pest control, debris removal, litter collection, mold remediation, those kinds of things that we need to address very quickly. And then 18 is it's a construction agreement. And that's where you have the 3 different proponents. And then lastly, 19 is it's the joint task order for the services agreement.
So the one I'm looking at, 24-R-4213, and I see under, when it says, be it further resolved that, I see 500,000 from the general fund for consulting, professional, recreation, admin, and then on the bottom line, it's 2 million from the Park Improvement Fund and consulting professional services, park admin. So those are streams of payment. I'm just trying to see what is the actual total amount for consulting fees. And if it is 2.5, I just want to better understand what would we be spending 2.5 million on consulting for.
So it would be consulting services,
Okay?
and that would be
Like
pest-
general contracting in general?
Yeah, but that would be for pest control and mold remediation and, those types of services. Debris removal, tree and limb removal in case.
But those aren't actual, that wouldn't be to the company that's doing, that wouldn't be part of the actual mold removal. That's just consulting about it? I mean, just explain that to me.
So let's just say we had a situation where there needed to be mold remediation. Okay? And so we would get in touch with, or I'm sorry, the managing general contractor would get in touch with a subcontractor to actually perform that work. And so he would, put some overhead and profit on the cost of that. for that mold removal.
So you're saying this 2.5 million actually includes the actual performance of
That's correct.
of what we're paying for, not just consulting?
No, not just consulting.
Services.
Services.
Okay. All right.
And that's coming from, the Office of Parks and also from Parks and Recreation Administration.
Okay. And, I may have a little trigger going with the consulting because I feel like we need to do as much as we can in-house. And I always have, and I like to think that we're the experts mostly of a lot of the things that we do. And I don't mind a small amount for consulting, but when I really thought that this was for consulting and professional services that didn't include the actual work, and that would have been concerning for me.
Yep. It includes the work.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, let's open the vote.
There hasn't been a mover and a seconder for the substituted version.
Okay, well, Mr. Chair, if you, I agree with all the sentiment of my colleagues, but also understand that it's necessary that we need to move this forward. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 3 yeas, 2 noes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hicks, you're up next with 24R4215, resolution by Finance Exec establishing a joint task order fund for the use under the RFP indicated, managing general contractor services with Leidy Soco JV LLC to provide managing general contractor services for Parks and Rec on a task order basis in the amount not to exceed $3.5 million. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed and for other purposes.
Okay, so this substitute resolution authorizes the City of Atlanta to enter into 3 separate contracts with the managing general contractor services. That would be Leidy Soco, JV LLC, Synergy Development Partners, LLC, and then EDT Techno SD joint venture, which is a collaboration of Engineering Design Tech, Inc., Techno Electric, Inc., and Skinner Development, Inc. The services will be provided on a task order basis to support the Department of Parks and Recreation. The total contract amount will not exceed $26.5 million. The contract term is for 3 years with 1 2-year additional renewal option at the discretion of the city. The city issued a request for proposals under RFP DPR 2308-1240021, and the selected contractors were determined to be the most responsive and responsive offers. The funding breakdown is that we have $6 million coming from the Moving Atlanta Forward horizontal. We have 9.4 coming from the Moving Atlanta Forward Bond Program vertical. We have $5 million coming from Parks Improvement Fund for repair and maintenance of park areas. We have $2 million coming from Park Improvement Fund for consulting services for the Office of Parks. and then $500,000 coming from the trust fund for consulting services related to parks, recreation, and cultural affairs. This substitution resolution ensures the city has necessary contractual agreements in place to manage and complete critical maintenance and construction projects within Atlanta's parks and recreational facilities, enhances the community's access to quality public spaces. Are there any questions?
All right, let me read the caption of the substitute. Substitute resolution by Finance Exec, authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the city to enter into appropriate contractual agreements for the RFP indicated managing general contractors construction with Lichty Soco JV LLC, for the RFP indicated managing general contractors construction with Synergy Development Partners LLC, and the RFP indicated managing general contractors construction with EDT Techno SD, a joint venture of Engineering Design Tech, Inc., Techno Electric, Inc., Skinner Development, Inc., to provide managing general contractor services for Parks and Rec on a task order basis in an amount not to exceed $26,500,000. All contracted services will be charged when paid from, etc. I'll motion to bring this forward. Second by Juan.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, items before us are substituted. Questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve on substitute.
Motion to approve on substitute by Juan. I'll second that. If there's nothing else, let's open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, thank you. 24R4216 is a resolution by Finance Exec authorizing
15 or 19.
This is 24R4215. Thank you. Resolution by Finance Exec establishing a joint task order fund for the use under the RFP indicated managing general contractor services with Lichty Soto Joint Venture LLC to provide managing general contractor services for the Parks and Rec on a task order basis in the amount not to exceed $3.5 million. All services will be charged to and paid from the sources indicated and for other services.
Want to speak to this?
Okay, so this particular resolution establishes a joint task order fund for the City of Atlanta's Department of Parks and Recreation under the contract RFP DPR 2308-124-0022 with managing general contractor Lichty Soco JV LLC. The total fund allocation is $3.5 million and will be used on a task order basis to execute necessary services projects throughout the city. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, some of the services would be things like signage installation and updates, pest control, debris removal, litter collection, mold remediation and removal, environmental projects and enhancements, tree and limb removal after a storm, and then other miscellaneous renovations and improvements within DPR's portfolio. The task order form fund will be established with a budget not to exceed $3.5 million. The Commissioner of Parks and Recreation and a designee is authorized to issue task orders under the contract with no additional approval from City Council needed as per Code 2-1111. The total sum from which this distributed through multiple task orders allowed for flexibility in addressing different projects. And
funding breakdown, the funds are being charged to and paid for by different accounts. $250,000 from the General Fund, Office of Parks, $250,000 from the General Fund, Office of Recreation, $1 million from Park Improvements Fund, Parks Design, $2 million from Park Improvement Fund's Office of Parks. By contracting with Litti Soko LLC, JV, the city ensures that qualified experts manage and oversee the execution of these essential parks and recreation projects. This will allow for improvements to be completed differently under budget and within necessary timelines, enhancing the quality and usability of public space. This resolution provides DPR with the resources and the authority to carry out critical improvements across the city's parks and recreation facilities. The establishment of the Joint Task Order Fund allows for a streamlined and accountable process to ensure the successful completion of vital projects aimed at enhancing the city's recreational infrastructure.
I'll second that. If there's nothing else, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, thank you. 24R 4216 is resolution by Finance Exec authorizing the mayor as designee to issue Task Order 9 for the contract RFP indicated. Citywide architectural planning, design, engineering, and construction phase services with Harrison Smith LLC for Wilson Road civil design services for Fire Station 31 on behalf of Enterprise Assets Management in an amount not to exceed $55,260. All work will be charged to and paid from the accounts listed and for other services. I'll second that. Let's open that vote if there's no questions.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you. 24R 4217 is a resolution by Finance Exec authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for the IFB indicated citywide roof repair and maintenance services with Rikers Construction LLC on behalf of Enterprise Assets Management, APD, Parks and Rec, Watershed, Public Works, and Atlanta Department of Transportation for roof repairs and maintenance services at various locations for a term of 3 years with 2 one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $2,447,500. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from the sources indicated.
Yeah, the purpose of this legislation is to execute a new agreement with Rikers Construction Company, and this is mainly for roof repairs, maintenance. It's going to be a citywide contract, and as you mentioned earlier, is to be used at these locations, which would be the Atlanta Police Department, ADOT, Department of Parks and Recreation, Department of Public Works, and Department of Watershed Management in an amount not to exceed $2,447,000.
Questions? Sorry if you weren't finished. Go ahead.
$2,447,500.
Thank you. Questions or comments? I'll move approval. Second by Winston. Seeing no questions or comments, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, thank you. 24R 4218 is a resolution by Finance Exec authorizing the mayor's designee to issue Task Order 6 for the RFP indicated citywide architectural planning, design, engineering, and construction phase services with RFPS with Dream Atlanta, a joint venture team for post-closure and landfill maintenance of city-owned landfills on behalf of Public Works in an amount not to exceed $1,699,900 $994.35, with all contracted work being charged to and paid from, et cetera. Mr. Robinson.
All right.
I'll second that. I do have a question, though.
Okay.
No one else has any questions. Could you, and my vote's not contingent on this, but I would personally like to be reminded of the difference between the annual sort of in perpetuity, landfill closure activities that we have to fund. But then also, right, we're under a consent order for a bucket of issues, and we have to fund whatever those remediation efforts are. So I would just like to be reminded about List A versus List B, and in terms of the consent order material, kind of where we are, because to me that's something we might eventually be able to dig ourselves out from under.
So I believe the consent deal that you're mentioning is related to the Department of Watershed Management, where what we have here is, for this one, is really for the post-closure landfill.
Okay.
Monitoring.
All right, it's different. Okay, there's been a motion and a second, so let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
All right, thank you. 24R4219 is a resolution by Finance Exec authorizing the mayor as designee to enter into a special procurement agreement, number of which is indicated, large meter testing, repair, and calibration with Wade Coots for large meter testing, repair, and calibration services on behalf of Watershed for a term of 1 year with one-year renewal option, an amount not to exceed $1,280,600, all contract work being charged to and paid from, et cetera. And I'll second that. Any questions or comments? Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed.
Guys have it so ordered. 24R4220, resolution by Finance Exec authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute special procurement agreement, the SP number of which is indicated, data center modernization and migration with Data Prize LLC on behalf of AIM pursuant to the section of the code indicated here for a term of 2 years with 3 one-year renewal options in an amount not to exceed $413,782. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from, et cetera. And I'll second that. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, let's open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the ayes have it. 24R4221, resolution by Finance Exec authorizing the mayor on behalf of Watershed a $20,000 gallon fiber reinforced plastic tank from Paladine Inc. in lieu of the city filing a claim for damages based on an incident which occurred March 13th of last year, to authorize the chief risk officer to execute any necessary documents to effectuate a release of claim and for other purposes. So, Mr. Deloach, could you just give us some background on this situation?
Good afternoon, everyone. Jerry Deloach, Chief Risk Officer in the Office of Enterprise Risk Management in the Department of Finance. The paper before you this afternoon is a paper where an incident occurred at Watershed Management. A vendor was delivering a substance that they used. It caused the tank to explode at the bottom, spilling substance into the Bay Dock loading area. Georgia Environmental Department, Quality Department was called. They responded. They cleared all that up. We did not file a claim with the vendor. They started a conversation with us to offer us a tank as a replacement tank. In consultation with Department of Watershed Management staff, we believe that it places the city in a better position as if they had bought a new tank, and so that's why we're bringing this proposal before the council today. And so the vendor will deliver the tank to the site. Watershed Management will be responsible for installing, doing all of this testing and all of that, and they've already included those expenses into that budget for FY25.
What was in the tank?
It was a polymer substance that they use for clean at watershed management. I do know that it was a hazardous chemical, but exactly it was a polymer substance as far as I know.
Did we get fined?
No, I don't. No, we did not get fined, but it was reported to the environmental division, of environmental quality division.
So who paid for the cleanup?
I am not sure of that. I think I answered the question. I just don't remember it this time.
What was the size of the tank?
It was a 5,000-gallon tank that was damaged, and they're replacing it with a 20,000-gallon tank.
All right.
Move approval.
Yeah, I'll second that. If there's nothing else, let's open the vote. I'm glad I wasn't there.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We
Thank you.
dispatched with 26. We do have a dual. 24-0-1551 is an ordinance by Mr. Winston to authorize the mayor on behalf of Atlanta to execute the fourth amended and restated intergovernmental housing cooperation agreement between the city and Atlanta Housing Opportunity, Inc. In order to make certain modifications to the city's housing opportunity program, including in particular the owner-occupied rehabilitation program and the housing production fund, to authorize the mayor on behalf of the city to execute amendments to any other documents as shall be necessary to effectuate this ordinance and for other purposes. Yeah, this is a referral from CD. I'll second that. So let's open that vote if there's nothing else.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, we have several held papers ready to burst from their crypts. 24R3981 is a resolution by Finance Exec authorizing a cooperative purchasing agreement, the number of which is indicated, for the purchase of furniture for city offices and facilities on behalf of Enterprise Assets Management and the departments listed, utilizing the state of Georgia, the contract number of which is indicated. Office, computer, and educational furniture with manufacturers Arcadia Chair Company, Ditto Sales, Exemplis, Kimball International Brands, Miller Knoll, OFS Brands, Rolliard, Symphony Furniture, doing business as Symphony Tables, and Technion in an amount not to exceed $5,850,000 per manufacturer in accordance with the section of the procurement code listed here. All work to be charged to and paid from, etc.
Move to amend to attach the iPro.
I'll second that. So let's open that vote. If there's no questions, procedural vote to attach the iPro report.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas and 0 nays.
All right, iPro's been attached.
Move to approve as amended.
I'll second that as well. If there's no questions or comments, let's open that vote.
The vote is open. Would all members please vote? And the vote is closed.
All right, the ayes have it. 24-0-1519 requires a substitute. Let me read that caption. Ordinance by Shook is substituted by Finance Exec, amending the FY25 general fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations an amount not to exceed $2,130,929.05 from non-departmental to the council president and council member carry forward accounts to the account for the true-up of the FY25 carry-forward balances and for other purposes. I'll second that. Let's open that vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
And I'll second that.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
And I'm just curious, who had the most carry forward account, carry forward in there that rolled over?
It'd be good to point out that there's a commission associated with that carry forward transfer to the Department of Finance, 15%.
That's the last time. That's the last time I try that. All right. We have a substitute for 24R4110, which is a resolution by Shook, substituted by Finance Exec, authorizing the Commissioner of Watershed to adjust water sewer service charges on certain customer accounts in accordance with the Atlanta City Code section indicated in the amount of $120,164.09 for further purposes. I'll motion to bring the substitute for us. Second by Juan. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Move approval on substitute. Second by Juan. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. And lastly, we have a substitute for 24R4111, resolution by Shook, substitute by Finance Exec, authorizing the CFO to refund customers for overpayments to water and sewer accounts in the amount of $24,967.38. All funds should be charged to and paid from it. Said a motion to bring substitute forward. Second by Juan. Let's open that vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Second. Let's open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Mr. Evans, does that conclude our business for today?
Yes, it does, Mr. Chair.
Comment by Mr. Juan.
All right, colleagues, I'm not going to pull 24O1474, that is the PAD contract paper, off today, but I do want to signal to the administration as well as those that are interested or have questions or comments on this, that I do intend to pull this off next cycle. I just want to be mindful of the timing. Since we did that extension, I don't want us to get caught up at the 11th hour when that money is going to run out and we don't have a replacement contract. So just wanted to clearly send that signal across to everybody with the intent of bringing it forward next month. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If there's nothing else, Mr. Evans, we appreciate you pinch hitting today. Excellent job, and we are adjourned.